Hey, happy Monday. We are starting a trial term this week. This is the week I was telling you about, where we are going to start off with a drug case, and then after that it's a lot of DUIs and, DUI seconds and thirds. What happens is those cases get on the roster and defense attorneys tell their clients, just sit tight, there's no way they'll ever get to you. A DUI second or third carries over 30 days, so it can't go in magistrate's court unless it's remanded as a first. And these cases sort of stockpile because obviously you, the viewing public, expect us to be trying murders and rapes and stabbings. But every once in a while, once, twice a year, we take a week and we try to wrap up all of those cases so that can't happen, where people can't just say, well, they'll never get to us. And I would suggest, we'll come back and report next week, but the vast majority of those are going to plead guilty. So what happens is once they're called to court and there's 12 people sitting in the box, then they say, oh, okay, I want to plea. Because with a DUI second, there's a mandatory minimum of 5 days and a maximum of a year. And that's what keeps it out of magistrate's court. But 5 days, wouldn't be nearly as long of a sentence as a whole year. So once they get there and know that the judge is going to max them out at the end of a trial, they'll go ahead and plead guilty and hope for a sentence of 5 or 10 or 15 days. I would suggest that'll happen a lot. And what I'm leading into is it would shock the conscience to know just how hard it is to get a case up for trial. Because if you've been charged with something, you've paid a guy a ton of money to come in and put it off. So that's their job, is to delay. Hopefully the case gets a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years old, the trooper's gone, whatever. So much of the conversation in Columbia is about backlog and saying to the solicitor, move this case, move this case, move these cases. These people deserve a fast trial. Hey, you're preaching to the choir. We want them to have a fast trial. The truth is, and you'll see it over and over and over today, 10,000 reasons why it can't go today. We can do it tomorrow, we can do it the next day, but we can't do it today. So if the judge stands his ground and says, no, the solicitor's already put you on notice for like 3 months. You've had to prepare for this. That case is going this week. The vast majority of them is going to plead guilty. To that point, last week, we were in court, had a case ready for trial. It was a burglary first, and it was Reginald Neville, 23 years old. He's a coastal student. And he had been sort of tracking this young lady, the victim, trying to get her to go out with him. Well, one night, I don't know, what was involved in all of this, but he followed her to her place, and he was trying to enter her room. She blocked him from coming in, pushed the door closed. He's struggling to get in. Clearly, in a burglary, all you have to do is break the plane of the door. You don't have to go all the way in. But he pushed the door and ended up shooting her. Shot her several times in the leg. It wasn't life-threatening injuries, but it was certainly enough for burglary first. We get get this thing prepared for trial, and he decides he wants to plead guilty. He ends up getting 15 years. That is 15 years that no parole, which means he'll have to serve about 12 before he's eligible for parole. Very young man, 12 years, 15 years is going to put him into his 30s. So he's giving up a lot, and the foolishness that he did on that night and putting that young girl's life in jeopardy certainly deserves that. Didn't have much of a record, but obviously this was a pretty bad thing and sort of out of character. But I tell you all that to say, again, as soon as he did these things, he ran back home. Certainly at Coastal, there's a lot of transient students. He ran back home to Massachusetts, and we had to get the U.S. Marshal Service involved. We had to track him down, phone pinging, investigations with states, 10 states away. Then we had to extradite him back to South Carolina. We had to do bond hearings, try to keep him in jail after he had absconded, and finally got this case to trial. It was a July 2022 case, but finally got ready for trial, and he pleads guilty. But it's not as simple as just saying, putting it on the trial roster. We have to give them we have to start preparing the trial roster like 3 months in advance, because there's all these bureaucracies that we have to go through to get it up there. We have to have at least 6 weeks for extradition, probably more like 8 weeks for extradition. I mean, there's a lot of time-consuming things in there, and the people that work with me in the office, it is, it's a difficult job, and you have to stay after it because you're having to move all of these different agencies to get something done. And then when you get at the verge of the trial roster, that's when you start hearing the 10,000 reasons that it can't go. And reason number one is always, hey, Judge, they're just looking through the discovery to see if there's any page missing. If it's the 6th body-worn camera and they've got 5 of them, it's, hey, can we have a continuance? I didn't see that 6th one, or that one didn't come in, but it's a lot into it. So hats off to Jim Stanko. Today it's Jess Glasgow and Caitlin Cook that's going forward with the case. And there's just a lot of moving parts. I always joke that it's like herding cats, and you know how difficult that would be. Everybody in there doesn't want to be there, including the judge. The only propeller is the prosecutor's office. The defense attorney wants to put it off. The defendant wants to put it off. The witnesses don't want to come, especially if they're doctors. It's a mess. But it's that herding cats, and once you get everybody there, then it generally will end up in a plea. But I will update you next Monday on how this week went. The week after that, we start back with murders and trying to clear up a docket from 2020 and some of those older murder cases, but 2020 and 2021. But we'll start off with that the next week. This is a week where we're trying to take all of those unsettled cases that probably should have played a long time ago. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you again on Monday.